So you want a faster first step. Well, first off, it's entirely possible if you have the right mechanics and the right physical attributes. So in this 6 weeks to a faster first step, we're gonna cover both of those things, both the off-ice attributes that you need and also the on-ice mechanics. And we're putting together a program that is gonna combine the two and have them really work together so that in 6 weeks, you've got that faster first step. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm putting this out for all of my YouTube subscribers to see and to be able to take these steps and put them into action. You're gonna get huge benefit from that. And then the remaining 5 weeks are for Train 2.0 Plus members. And that's just because in order to use those last 5 weeks, you gotta be able to use it with the downhill skating system. So it's just not as effective without the downhill skating system. So that's why if you'd like to use this to get a faster first step, you got a couple drills that you can use that will definitely make a huge difference. And then if you wanna take it all the way and really maximize how much faster you can get, well, then you can do that with the Train 2.0 Plus membership. So the very first thing to do, this might be very boring, is just to time yourself. It's to time yourself blue line to blue line, or choose a distance that you're gonna use at the very beginning that you're gonna compare yourself to and benchmark against. Why? Because we're not doing this just to do it, just to do fancy exercises. We're doing this to actually make a difference in how much faster you can skate from blue line to blue line, or choose like 10, 15 meters. Make sure that you schedule a time to do it. That's the first thing, because we're gonna come back to that at the 3-week mark and the 6-week mark to see how we're doing and make adjustments. Okay, cool, that's the boring part, but that's also the part where we get results. That's the first thing. The second thing is we are going to really maximize learning about ankle rocker. Now this is super important. We call this Shin Angle in Train 2.0. And the best players, the McDavids, the McKinnons, the Barzells, the fastest skaters you know of, really have developed a fantastic shin angle. Now, we call it aggressive heel pressure and shin angle at Train 2.0 because what we have with the best players is they have both their knee forward, but then they actually control their movement with their heel. What that allows them to do is it allows them to be both balanced, but also able to accelerate. Balanced and controlled and able to accelerate. So being able to have both shin angle plus heel pressure allows for maximum rocker, being able to use the rocker as much as possible. And those are the mechanics needed to get you moving as fast as possible. Remember, we're gonna train both the off-ice attributes and the mechanics. So we're gonna do both of those, but the first thing that we're gonna focus on is that rocker. So we've got 2 exercises for that off-ice in week 1, and then I'll talk about the on-ice component and the Mars blade component. So the first exercise is really simply a ATG split squat. Okay, so what we're doing with that is we're just stepping forward onto the heel to get that heel pressure, and then we're having the knee travel forward over the toe with the goal of having our hamstring cover our calf. As you can see when I do this movement, I have my knee well over my toe, and I'm also aiming to keep my heel down as much as possible. I can link to lots of other videos, and I'm not gonna go super deep into the ATG split squat, but just know that it has a lot of things that are really beneficial to hockey players. 1 is it encourages that shin angle. 2 is it encourages shin angle and heel pressure. 3 is that it also opens up the back hip. So, you know, a lot of hockey players have super tight hips, and when you're getting into this position, it also opens up the hip flexors, the psoas, quads, all those things as well. So it actually serves dual purpose of also being a mobility exercise. That's not the main reason we're doing it, but that is definitely helpful. So that is the first component of week 1. The second component is practicing our different foot strikes. Now, what I mean by that is, and what we're gonna build on in 6 weeks to a faster first step, is that where you place your ground contact on the ice, so whether you place it at the heel or at the toe or mid blade, is very important. Why? Because where you place that pressure, where that ground contact is or the ice contact is either gonna give you momentum or take it away, or it's gonna be neutral. So if you place it in the right spot, you're gonna get momentum on every step. And that's what McDavid is so good at, is he always is landing precisely at the right spot on the blade that's giving him momentum into the next step. Yes, that is a secret that is not often talked about, and we'll talk about it as we go. So that's why it's important for us to learn that. So off ice, what we're gonna practice is we're gonna practice those foot strikes. It's not gonna be exactly the same, but it's gonna give you the feeling in your lower leg that you can then translate to the ice, and we'll talk about that. Ice or Mars blades. So here are the progressions. The main progression is starting by contrasting your movement. Our bodies learn really well by contrasting the right way and the wrong way of doing things, and you can actually create that movement, or you can create that learning without even like having to have any cues, just by testing out different movement patterns. So the first thing we do is we're gonna practice running. I suggest doing it for at least 20 meters, and we're gonna practice running right on our toes. So we're gonna get right up on our tiptoes, and we're gonna just practice running like this. And the reason we're doing that is just to feel what it's like to have the tension in the calves, and then also to feel how much movement we actually get and how much momentum we get on each step. Then we're going to go and we're going to contrast that with running on our heels. So we're going to practice running on our heels like this. And again, that's to feel how much momentum we get on each step and how much we get slowed down and where the tension is in the body. Once we've done both toes and heels, then we're going to find a place in between where our knees are over our toes, and we're not landing completely on our heels and we're not landing completely on our toes. We're landing kind of on the balls of our foot, and we're paying attention to, do I get momentum on each step, and how much tension do I feel on each step? So that is the running contrast drill that we do. And if you think that looks like pose running, you're right, it is, and it makes a huge difference, because what we're aiming to get at is we're aiming to feel that there's this spot in between the toe and in between the heel where when you land there, it springs you into your next step. That is one of McDavid's secrets, is that he's always landing on every step in all of his footwork on the precise part of his blade that kicks him into his next step or his next movement. He uses the rocker and the blade better than any other player in the NHL, and I think that's why he's the best skater in the NHL. There, I said it. Now, how does that combine, and how do we translate that on the ice? So what we're going to do on the ice in week 1 is we are going to take either on ice, if you have that, or not, get yourself a pair of Mars blades. Now, you might ask, oh, can I just do this on rollerblades? You can, you're just not going to get the benefit of it. See, the main reason that I'm saying that you should do it on Mars blades, and by the way, if you need a code, let me know. It'll be in the Train 2.0 membership area. But the reason I say Mars blades is because it has the rocker. So what we're aiming to work on, what we're aiming to develop here, is landing precisely on that rocker point where if you land there, it's going to kick you into the next step. Other times when you're stepping flat or stepping on the wrong part of the blade, you lose all your momentum, and then you have to shift your weight, and then you can step. So a good example is if I'm striding and instead of landing on Y angle, I land flat, then what I have to do is I have to shift my weight over before I can actually push. If instead I'm really good at landing at the right part of the blade with a Y angle already, my hips are already in a position where I can push. So instead of landing flat and losing momentum where I have to move and then I have to get onto the right part of my blade and then I can push, McDavid is landing on the perfect part of his blade where he can immediately kick into that next step. So if you train yourself to do that, you can get a lot more speed with a lot less effort. So that's why training the rocker is important, and that's why working with the Mars blades and on ice is very important. I hope that makes sense. So I do recommend Mars blades or on ice if you can get on the ice, but it's maybe the off season for you. So Mars blades is a really great option for that. Now, what is the drill? The drill is the exact same thing on ice or with Mars blades as the running, where we contrast pushing from the heels for our strides, pushing from the toes with our strides, and then finding that middle ground with Shin Angle where we're pushing in between. Now again, your goal with this contrast is to do a number of different reps where you can find that point where we'll call it the McDavid point, where you're getting that momentum on every stride, where it's effortless to take that next stride. And it's not coming from muscles and strength and power, it's coming from where you place the pressure on the blade. And don't worry, we're gonna get into strength and power and all those things later as we go, but I want us to focus on the mechanics to start. That's what makes this program different, and we're combining both the physical attributes and the mechanics. So that is week 1 in your 6 weeks to a faster first step. So just a reminder, what we covered is we covered knees over toes split squat, the ATG split squat to get shin angle with heel pressure. Then we focused on contrasting different running styles with different foot strikes, heel, toe, and midfoot, so that we can practice and find that feeling where one step leads to the next, and you can really play with it off ice. And then we're gonna translate that to on ice or with Mars blades, where we do the exact same thing, pushing with the toes, pushing with the heels, pushing in that McDavid point where it's gonna kick you into the next step. So just this alone in week 1 is gonna make a huge difference for you. And like I said, if you want to get the rest of the benefit, and if you thought week 1 was good, then just wait till week 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, and you wanna get that full benefit for the full 6 weeks, well, let's continue on, and I'll see you in the next video. But thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful and helps you with a faster first step.